Grumman's lineage of feline-named naval fighters became synonymous with American aerial prowess during the Pacific theater of World War II. These rugged and heavily armed and armored aircraft could take a beating and fight the enemy head-on with devastating effects. As the war neared its end, Grumman introduced the most potent prop-driven fighter, the F8F Bearcat, described by many as an engine with a saddle on it due to its vast powerhouse. Despite its smaller size, the Bearcat was a force to be reckoned with, outperforming its iconic predecessors. In fact, it was nearly 2,000 pounds lighter than the formidable F6F Hellcat, yet it packed a punch in terms of performance. The Bearcat's more petite frame outperformed all its peers regarding overall speed, climbing time, takeoff, and most importantly, combat maneuverability. With its ability to take off in less than 1,000 feet, climb to 10,000 feet in under 90 seconds, and execute tight maneuvers, the Bearcat redefined aerial combat. Its unmatched agility and firepower made it a lethal presence in the sky, representing the peak of propeller-driven fighter design just as jets began to take over the skies. Grumman initially provided the U.S. Navy with powerful biplane fighters, the F2F and F3F, which lacked the more familiar feline-inspired monikers that later became synonymous with Grumman's naval aircraft. Between the development of the iconic F4F Wildcat and F6F Hellcat, Grumman engineered the twin-engine F5F, which was dubbed the Skyrocket. Despite demonstrating favorable flight characteristics, the Navy hesitated on mass production due to concerns about the aircraft's weight. There was some speculation on whether a feline name might have influenced its success. Nevertheless, the exceptional quality of Grumman's aircraft manufactured on Long Island was highly regarded. In 1942, Vice Admiral John S. McCain Sr. famously equated the Grumman brand to sterling silver in its value to the Navy, though many preferred to liken the durability of Grumman's aircraft to that of iron, coining the nickname Grumman Iron Works to reflect their toughness and reliability. This nickname underscored the enduring partnership between Grumman and the U.S. Navy, especially during the critical years of World War II, highlighting a legacy of robust and reliable military aircraft. Grumman aircraft became synonymous with American aerial prowess during the conflict, particularly in the Pacific theater. Iconic fighters such as the F4F Wildcat and the F6F Hellcat were crucial to the Navy's success against the mighty Japanese forces. The Wildcat, known for its durability, was the first to hold the line against the Japanese in 1942, while the Hellcat, introduced later, became renowned for its engine power, range, and payload capacity. The Hellcat notably accounted for over half of the Navy's aerial victories during the war. These aircraft, built to survive harsh conditions and repair quickly, solidified Grumman's reputation as the Grumman Iron Works for their rugged construction and reliability in combat. All these fighters played central roles in securing air superiority and significantly contributed to the eventual Allied victory in the Pacific. Despite the combat-tested performance of all Grumman fighters in active service, the Navy's thirst for an even more powerful aircraft was unquenchable. The Navy requested a fighter that could operate from American carriers of all sizes to maximize combat effectiveness and air supremacy against the Imperial Japanese Navy. In addition, in the aftermath of the Battle of Midway, Wildcat pilots and Grumman technicians gathered, concluding the Navy required a fighter with an excellent climb rate to respond fast to enemy attacks at sea. The power-to-weight ratio was part of the equation to achieve this optimal climb performance, which could only be maximized by consolidating the most powerful engine available with the lightest and smallest design. In 1943, the design ideas for this new fighter came to fruition as Grumman introduced the F6F Hellcat, and the American forces captured Guadalcanal from the Japanese. The fighter was given the internal designation G-58 Bearcat, and it would be powered by the most powerful engine available at the time, the two 000 horsepower Pratt and Whitney R2800 engine. Besides its climb rate, the design had the potential to be faster and more maneuverable than any other Grumman fighter introduced before. To fulfill these objectives, radical changes were made. The cantilever, low-wing monoplane design made of an all-metal construction was lighter and smaller than its predecessor, the Hellcat. It was over 5 feet shorter and cut vertically to fit a bubble canopy with a raised rear fuselage, a true innovation for Navy fighters. Another feature that would make the Bearcat stand out from other Navy fighters was its Aero Products 4-blade propeller, which was over 12 feet in diameter with a nose-up profile while on the ground. Furthermore, the Bearcat's wingspan was 7 feet smaller than the Hellcat's. Despite being smaller and lighter, the design featured armor protection for the pilot, engine, and oil cooler. The Bearcat's undercarriage was wholly retractable and featured a conventional design like the empennage, which comprised a single vertical tail fin and horizontal planes. Overall, the smaller and lighter Bearcat's design had a length of 28 feet, a width of 35.8 feet, a height of 13.8 feet, and an empty weight of around 7,070 pounds. Compromises had to be made to produce this reduced weight and achieve the desired power-to-weight ratio. For instance, as part of the weight-saving measures, internal fuel capacity was reduced to 160 gallons out of the standard 183 carried by other Navy fighters. Armament was also compromised along the way to save weight. Instead of the usual 6 .50 caliber Browning machine guns, the Bearcat was fitted with only 4. Nonetheless, the decision was made with premeditation and war logic behind it, considering that 4 machine guns would not hinder the combat performance of the Bearcat, given the lack of armor and protection among most of the Japanese aircraft arsenal. Nonetheless, to compensate for the lack of additional machine guns, the Bearcat's wing could charge into battle carrying 4 rockets, or up to 1,000 pounds of bombs. As the war stretched on and Japan commenced resorting to the kamikaze or divine wind attacks, in which Japanese aircraft deliberately crashed into American battleships or carriers to cause maximum damage, the Navy issued more requirements for this new Grumman fighter. It had to take off fast from carriers to avoid kamikaze attacks and respond swiftly to enemy air incursions before they could approach American naval battle formations. By the summer of 1944, the prototype XF8F1 was ready and took to the skies on August 21st. It quickly demonstrated its superior speed and climbing capabilities over its predecessors. The Bearcat was indeed the ultimate propeller-driven fighter, with Robert S. Beaver Blake stating, quote, "I felt like a kid who'd been riding a speedy bike and was suddenly given a Harley-Davidson." Initial test flights revealed several issues, including trim problems, concerns over the cramped cockpit space, and the need for landing gear enhancements. Nonetheless, the compliments would not stop throughout the Bearcat service, with rising legend Neil Armstrong stating the Bearcat, quote, "is my personal favorite aircraft, handling, power-to-weight ratio, and all of it in a package that's pleasing to the eye. It looks like a muscle machine, and it is." Satisfied with the revised design, the Navy significantly expanded its order on October 6, 1944, requesting 2,023 F8F1 Bearcats from Grumman. This order was further augmented on February 5, 1945, when General Motors received a contract to produce an additional 1,876 units, underscoring the aircraft's strategic importance to the Navy's aerial capabilities. Despite the minor complaints, the basic variant of the Bearcat was a resounding success. That did not prevent Grumman from developing a second variant, of which only 290 airframes were produced, the F8F Bearcat. It was a powerhouse, an engine with a saddle, and an upgraded Pratt & Whitney R2000 830W radial piston engine. Carrying 4 20mm cannons and redesigned engine cowling, the Bearcat II could reach a maximum speed of 455 miles per hour, an impressive rate of climb of 4,470 feet per minute, and a service ceiling of 40,000 feet. British Royal Navy legend and acclaimed test pilot Eric Winkle Brown, who would fly over 480 aircraft, would list the Bearcat as one of his top 20 fighters, saying fondly, quote, "It was a joy to throw around in the air as it had beautiful harmony of control aided by its spring tab ailerons. It had another hallmark of a good day fighter, in that it had poor stability rather in the manner of the Spitfire." This combination made for superb maneuverability, which, coupled with the fact that the aircraft was overpowered, resulted in an outstanding aerobatic performer. I do not think I have blacked myself out so consistently in an aircraft, and it was just as well for peace of mind that the Bearcat was so highly stressed. Despite its superior performance compared to all its iconic predecessors, the Bearcat was almost 2,000 pounds lighter than the mighty F6F Hellcat. The Bearcat's more petite frame outperformed all its peers regarding overall speed, climbing time, takeoff, and most importantly, combat maneuverability. The U.S. Navy declared it the most potent single-engine, propeller-driven aircraft ever constructed, pound for pound. This recognition, in line with Grumman's reputation, was a testament to the aircraft's durability and ruggedness in combat. The Bearcat, being 20% lighter, had a climb rate 30% better and was 50 miles per hour faster than the Grumman Hellcat. However, this impressive performance came too late for the war. Fighter Squadron 19 was activated in late May 1945, but only days later the U.S. opted to use atomic bombs to bring World War II to an end, preventing the Bearcat from proving its capabilities in combat. As a result, the contract was reduced to producing just 770 aircraft, with the Bearcat steadily replacing the American Hellcats within the U.S. Navy. In 1948, the powerful F8F Bearcat was introduced, while over 120 F8 F1Bs were fitted with 4 20mm cannons instead of their standard Browning machine guns. Production of the Bearcat continued into 1949, when it was removed from service after the introduction of the Grumman Panther and the F2H Banshee. Still, that was not the end of the Bearcat's career. In 1951, the French Armed Forces received approximately 200 F8F Bearcats to support their operations during the First Indochina War. After the French withdrew in 1954, the remaining Bearcats were transferred to the South Vietnamese Air Force, which continued to use them until 1959. At that point, the South Vietnamese phased out the Bearcats in favor of more modern aircraft. Meanwhile, additional Bearcats were sold to Thailand, remaining in service until 1960. Over the decades, demilitarized Bearcats gained popularity in the air racing community. Originally raced in their stock form, many Bearcats have since been extensively modified, achieving numerous speed and performance records for piston-engine aircraft. This air racing acclaim for the Bearcat could be summarized by retired Marine Colonel John J. Guse, who said, quote, "That thing went up like a skyrocket. You needed to pay attention or it could leap away from you, but if you stayed in charge, it handled well and performed beautifully." Two civilian aircraft rose to fame: Rare Bear, owned by Lyle Shelton, and Conquest One, heavily modified by Darrell Greenamere. Both aircraft and their pilots racked up several air victories, with Conquest One exhibited today at the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum. In the end, despite not seeing combat with the American military and its use in its intended role, Grumman's Bearcat left a lasting impression in aviation history, representing the pinnacle of piston-engine fighter design before the jet age redefined air warfare.